In ECG, you always have a wave, what we call as PQRS wave. That's the wave which shows that the heart is working. So similarly, when we have a straight line of a patient, then we say that patient is dead. So like that, stress is the engine of our life. You will have wave as long as you have stress. The moment the stress is over, you are a straight line and you are no more in this world. So that's how life comes, and that's why we have to be at multiple points facing it.
So I think there are some participants who have joined and
Mm-hmm.
some will join after some time. So let's start the session. So we welcome Dr. Nimisa ji
Oh, hey.
and
Hi,
all
Nimisha.
our participants, Dr. Jaya Ghosh ji, Kushi ji, Benjot, Mansi, Nancy ji, Binti Pradhan ji, Shubham Tiwari. Thank you so much, all of you. So let's start today's session with an invitation of a song. So let me just play the. Thank you so much for your kind attention, dear and respected friends and participants. Third day of our summer school. So we hope last 2 days are fruitful for you. And both of the speakers gave a very important insight to think about and understand about old age problems. So on behalf of Vishwaneedam Center for Asian Blossoming, we welcome you. This summer school is being co-nurtured by Vishwaneedam Center for Asian Blossoming, OKAYMINDS, in collaboration with Government Art College, PG College, Karnataka. Uh, Let me give a brief introduction to our Vishwaneedam Center. Vishwaneedam Center is our public intellectual trust, and we conceived of this institute as a long project involving our sadhana and struggle. We seek to find a sponsorship from projects from multiple quarters, foundations such as South Asian Food Foundation, government and intergovernmental bodies, corporate houses, and creative educational foundations. And we also find for fellowship for Asian blossoming, for presenting fellowship to fellows, who that is tied for creating fellowship for free and subsidized education for the students for Asian regions and other. We have so many collaborations with different institutions and organizations. So this summer school is also a kind of meditative work. We look at least for young people who can help us nurture about there are some institutions in Delhi, and we look for potential for participants, who can be our co-nurturer in that journey. So in that spirit, this summer school is a very important opportunity for us to think about the old age problem. So we had two sessions till now. Uh, uh, in the very inauguration session, we had Dr. Anandahi Ambaliji, and then we had Dr. Nimisha Vandanji. So today is the third day. So we have Dr. Amit Wanchoo. Dr. Amit Wanchoo is a speaker and a trained medical doctor. He's also a uh, founder of OKAYMINDS. He is one of our co-nurturers of International Summer School. Dr. Vanchu has different orientation. He worked in Kashmir. Uh, he worked in the field of healthcare, art, culture, social activism. Uh, Dr. Vanchu has also founded a trust in the name of his grandfather. We have just had a conversation about his work. Uh, his name is Sri H.N. Wanchoo, was assassinated, as he just told us, in December 1992 at Srinagar. This trust actually runs a unique humanitarian project titled Night Ambulance Service for the people in the valley. Uh, Dr. Bantu has received various folk and art forms of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. He has organized programs in crisis situation and promoted local art and culture of the state. Dr. Vanchi has worked at a lot in bridging regional and religious gaps between different societies in the three regions of the state. Um, Dr. Amit has received various awards, which includes Paul Harris Fellow 2005, Commonwealth Fellowship 2006, Yale World Fellow 2007, and so on and so forth. So we are very grateful, and again, I'm very thankful that Dr. Vanchu has accepted our invitation to speak one of our things in primary school. So now it's time to invite you. So we welcome Dr. Amit to kindly present his presentation.
Thank you, dear. Thank you so much. And thanks to everyone who has been behind this, organizing it. And let me just see and try to share screen. And is it visible?
Yes, it is visible.
So most of the times when we are talking about something like old age or things like that, I personally believe that it's not only us who need it. It is, in fact, old people and all of us have to go through this age. It's not that we will get something to know about them and then it will never come to us. All of us have to go through that. So in today's session, I won't say that it is only that whatever I'm going to tell you that how you'll take care of old people, but also remember that all of us will also be old someday. And unfortunately, when we are in young life and when we are basically active, we forget that. And we forget that a lot in today's world, because one of the basic things is that the concept of joint families or kids living with grandparents is very less now. While I, as a doctor, even believe that kids learn best when they spend time with grandparents. So this, whatever I will be talking about you as far as whether it's depression, whether it is the mental resilience or how we manage all these things, definitely these will be the tips that how you manage when you are dealing with the old age people, but also take it as a lesson for your own self, because someday we all also will be old. Okay. So to start with, is the slide visible? The mental stamina we'll talk about. And all of you go for gymming and you go and do your physical exercise and you go and do your physical activities. Similarly, remember that your mind or anyone's mind is also works as a muscle. Now, how much you're going to activate it and how positively you're going to activate it, that's what matters. So you have to remember that mental stamina is a very, very important thing that you have to keep in mind when you're dealing with old age people. Because if you're able to channelize their mental stamina in a proper way, it will be so helpful to them as the physical exercise in the gym helps. So what you have to work is that strong mind, it will always face long-term challenges. So what happens in elderly people that they are very emotional or they feel very weak at times and they are not in their proper orientation many a times. But if you're able to channelize their mind and give that mental stamina, that strength, they will be in a much better position than we see them. As we know, we have to give them this mental exercise in a very, very maintained manner. Neither it should be excess nor it should be under. It has to be balanced. So always remember that whatever activity you will do when you're dealing with them, it will be of great help to them. So as far as the mental stamina is concerned, mental stamina works in different directions. As you know that mind is a very, very different phenomena. In particular age, it works in one particular way. In another age, it works in another way. So now it has three different phases. One is rational mind, one is wise mind, and then we also have sometimes emotional or irrational mind. We all also go through it, but in old age people, this is a lot. So you have to basically differentiate between this rational, wise, irrational, or emotional mind. You'll see many times these old people are weeping in their own rooms or when they are alone with their own self. So you have to basically work out with them as far as this mental stamina exercise is concerned and give them that energy, because it is mind finally that will help them and give them the capacity and capability to change. And we have to remember that what we want to give old people or our elderly in our home, do we want to give them those happy moments or we want to give them happy life? Because sometimes the moments can be just few moments, whether we want to give them that or we want to give them happy life. So when we are talking about depression, or sometimes I also like to call it as mood changes, so what are the things that you have to look when you are seeing an elderly person or sometimes even a normal person, that what things you will see and what changes you can see in the behavior of a person or in the mood of a person? If the person is very irritable or very hostile than normal, if the person spends a lot of time being alone or is not happy talking to friends, is very negative in thought process or very pessimistic, and has lots of times this habit of going on a guilt trip, which we see a lot in old people, that they go into the past and start feeling and go into that guilt trip, and then they feel worthless, and that feeling of worthlessness comes back to them many times. Sometimes you will see some elderly people will have a very, very strange rebellious behavior. They may scream sometimes, even to your surprise, or the behavior will be very different. And sometimes you'll see sadness, sometimes you'll see anxiety, sometimes you'll see feeling of hopelessness. And many a times, what we see a lot in elderly people also, and remember this most of the times, that they are sometimes not hearing things properly, or their normal day-to-day activity of doing things is not that fast as it is ours. So you may have to repeat the sentences, or they may ask sometimes repeatedly. Never get irritated about that, and keep that in mind. That's why they have difficulty in making decisions, or their concentration is not that strong. And yes, when they are going through this depression or mood change phase, there will be a lot of irresponsible behavior from them as well, which normally is not the case. And crying is something which you will see a lot in them. So you have to remember that that will be so easy phenomenon, because they will be very emotional and the mind will be very emotional that time. And then you can also notice changes in eating pattern, changes in sleeping pattern. There will be weight gain, there can be weight loss. And sometimes there are phases in these elderly people wherein they are more dependent on certain relationships. You will see that sometimes they will have more fascination towards a particular son or a daughter than they usually had. And they will feel, no, this person is more good for me and the other child is not good for me. This also happens. And memory loss, obviously, a lot happens in that particular age. And then reckless or harmful behavior is seen rarely, because they are fragile and not that much in strength. But yes, it can also be one of the aspects in depression. And then psychosocial vulnerability, which is a lot in this age. They always feel that they are not liked, they are not wanted, no one wants them at home, people are just judging them and doing things like that. So this kind of psychosocial vulnerability is one of the most common phenomena in old and elderly people. So do take care of that. Now, what can be the warning signs? These are general signs that we see, but warning signs are like if you're noticing a sudden change in behavior, or there is extreme lack of motivation, overly pessimistic behavior, sometimes suicidal tendency, or social withdrawal extreme, or extreme isolated place, not maintaining the hygiene properly, not maintaining other basic things in the room, preoccupation, all the time thinking about death, thinking about negative things, thinking about all the dying patterns, or giving away the valued personal possessions. So all these symptoms or signs that you can see of depression, if they aggravate, then obviously these are warning signs. And if there is a lot of hopelessness and you're seeing a lot of negativity and a lot of mood changes, that's also a sign which you have to take care of. Now, what happens is that in such cases, in depression generally, whether it's in youngsters, teenagers, sometimes in children, sometimes in middle-aged adults, so it will have different connotations. So different age groups have different approaches. And now today we are mostly talking about elderly people, like how they would be treated or how they have to be taken care of. So what should you do if you come across an elderly person like that? First and the foremost thing, what they mostly like is talking, because no one listens to them, no one has time for them. So keep lines of communication open. As long as you will keep the lines of communication open, patient will not degrade, patient will definitely be better. Give breathing space to the elderly person. Let that person talk. Let that person express his or her concerns. And never judge whatever that person is saying, because then that person will further never share anything with you. It happens with everyone, and it's more in elderly age. Have positive communication. The more positive communication you will have, more good it's going to do. And sharing and caring, that's one of the most important things. The more care you give to these elderly people, they will find themselves more strong. And when you share with them, they will share a lot with you. And that's wherein all those things, that are within them, they download all these things, and that relaxes them. The way you download data from your phone, you download data from your devices, and then the device can run fast. Similarly, allow them to download all those things, and then their positive activity will run fast. And yes, in case there's emergency and you're seeing that the patient is really deteriorating, then definitely consult a doctor. Now, what are the basic things that you have to manage, especially when you see a person having depression and it is induced by stress or anxiety or general factors? First is compassion. Always remember, whether it's you or whether it's an elderly person, self-compassion is very important. You have to make that elderly person have that self-compassion, because when person is there, then other things will be there. So first is compassion for your own self, compassion for that elderly, but you have to basically train that person for. And then the person can have compassion for friends, for relatives, or for the community. So compassion, and in compassion, self-compassion is very important. So I'll focus on 7 C's in case of elderly, which you have to keep in mind. Confidence. Give them confidence. Talk with them, infuse that confidence with them, and every situation has to pass. Talk with them about their stories of life, because they have conquered so many difficulties in life. So just give them that confidence that this hard time will also pass, this bad or good time will also pass, and you will be able to do it in crisis times. So confidence is very, very important, and giving these things like you can, or you will, or you are going to do all these things generates a lot of strength in them. Then calmness or comparison, these are very important things. Having mental as well as physical calmness in elderly people is very important, and you have to work around that. You have to work around basic things wherein they balance their body and mind. You give them happiness from small things that gives them happiness. And then sometimes when they start complaining about certain things or things, then do give them comparisons of people who are in their age group and are not in that good situation as they are right now, because there are so many elderly people who are unfortunately in very pathetic conditions as well. And all these things, what they do, this calmness, this happiness, this positive comparisons, they overall increase their immunity. And this immunity is increased both to physical diseases and to mental disorders or diseases as well. So you are helping them by giving this calmness or comparison kind of setups to them and helping them to generate that immunity. Creativity. Creativity we always have seen is one of the best things, and creativity of any format. Whenever they are in any such crisis form, or whenever you're seeing that the things are not fine, involve them in creative work, which can be music or performing arts or making short videos, sometimes having selfies, sometimes having just cooking with them or cooking their favorite food or whatever they like. All these creative things generate a sense of belonging in these elderly people, and they feel part of that system, wherein otherwise they feel that they are no more part of the system. And since they are now in an old age, so they are no more wanted in this particular family or particular society or particular fabric. So we have to give them that, and for that creativity really plays an important role. Then consistency. You have to have consistency in delivering these services, whether you are at dealing with them at home, or you're dealing with them in an outdoor space, or you are a person who is basically handling on one side the school of kids, on other side the home, and then you also have to handle elderly. For those people, you have to divide your time intelligently, and if you follow a good routine, you can balance between the three, because when you're dealing with elderly, it's just like you're dealing with kids as well. So having that balance is very, very important, and dividing the time intelligently. But remember, it has to be consistent, because whenever you're dealing with elderly people at home or at office or at a space wherein if you're working in an old age home, you have to basically work in that direction, because that is very, very important. The more consistent you are, the more helpful you're going to be to that patient. Then communication and connections. So whenever you're dealing with an elderly person, you have to build your connections with that person. If you're a counselor, if you're dealing with the person at home, or you're dealing with a group, you have to connect with them. You have to have that communication with them wherein they identify themselves with you. And that social contact is very important. Unfortunately, even in COVID, you have that physical distancing, but having that social connect, even whether it's through virtual mode or when you are now, obviously, we can move and interact with them, because unfortunately, in COVID, elderly people had lots and lots of mental health issues. Even we all had. So they had a lot of such issues. And in such situations, we have to still maintain social contact and be virtually connected with them, because they feel very lonely otherwise, very weak otherwise. So for them, communications and connections matter a lot, because they still come from a society wherein you didn't have all these social media, mobile phones, and things like that. They come from a society wherein things were handwritten, or people were talking front to front and doing things. I want to share a very small story with this, and this is not only for elderly people, as I said, that I want to share with all of you that one day we all will also be old, and this is for us as well. And the better we understand it early, it's going to be a very good thing for us. So, why I want to share this class story is a very simple story. So, one day a professor in the class asked every student to get a glass of water which is half filled, and they all got it with them. And once the class started, he told them all to hold it in the hand the way you are seeing in the picture for 2 minutes. Everyone happily took it in the hands and hold it for 2 minutes. After the 2 minutes were over, everyone thought now the exercise is over. So the professor said, now hold this glass of water for another 3 minutes. So people thought, okay, fine. They start holding it. After 3 minutes ended, they thought now they have to put down the glass. Now the professor said, hold it for 8 minutes. And everyone now was a bit, you feel that tension in your arms and hand. Finally, they holded it for 8 minutes. And now everyone desperately wanted to put the glass down. But now the professor said, now hold it for 20 minutes. So that's when that restlessness started coming in the classroom. And then the professor said, so just compare this half glass of water with the stress in your mind. If you hold it for 2 minutes, you may be able to hold it. Then you won't leave it or go off for some time, maybe for another 3 minutes or another 5 minutes. But if you keep on holding the stress, it's going to be very heavy for you. So the longer you hold your stress, the heavier it gets. So similarly, what happens with elderly, and this is for all of us also, this happens with us also, but obviously with elderly, it happens a lot because they have nowhere to share those things. So whenever they are in any stressful situation, when they are anywhere holding a glass like this in their mind, you have to be the person who has to get this glass out and put it down so that they are no more holding this. Because if you're able to do it intelligently and on time for them, it will be of great help to them. We all need support in life and not only in crisis. And this applies to everyone. And obviously to elderly, they need a lot of support when they are in crisis. So it's very important to build a network of empathy and compassionate people around them. You can be one of them, and then you can connect them with those people who feel their empathy or who are compassionate to them, because that is what they need. Only one or two people with whom they can share everything will be of great help to them. That can be you or that can be anyone else whom you identify. And as I told you, elderly people treat things differently in different situations, and we have to understand that, and we can then deal with them in a very proper manner. So you have to know from their stories. I always say that stories, personal stories, are very strong. You must have amazing stories, all of you who are right now in this workshop. And elderly people who have had their life have brilliant stories. Always let them tell their stories of crisis to you, and then you share back whatever you have seen, or if you're able to see that in that crisis situation, what is going to help that elderly person. And you will see, once you instill that confidence in this elderly person about their own story, about their own confidence, they'll be able to overcome that crisis situation. That's something which we all have to remember, because stories of personal people, as I was talking to you about, whether it's a glass story or any story, are very, very important. This is a very small, short story which I thought I should share with you, because finally, in elderly people, also remember that many times they are not able to hear things properly, they are not able to see things properly. And whatever they can get maybe is from your body language, or sometimes maybe from your expressions, or sometimes whatever they can hear. So this is a small story I want to share with you guys, that there used to be a group of frogs who lived in a colony, and every day in the evening they would go out for a walk. So they would go out for a walk and then come back. And this was a normal routine. So one day while they were on outside in the evening on a walk, two frogs unfortunately fell in a deep pit, which was basically laid down to trap animals. And this pit was so deep that all the frogs tried their best, but they could see that they are not able going to save their two friends. They tried their best, they tried to scream, they tried to do whatever they could, but unfortunately, they could see that now these two friends are not going to be with them and they will die there. And while they were going off, they told both of their friends that, but that facial expression was something like that you should try, but from their verbal mouth, they said that now we don't think that you'll be saved. So this is the last goodbye to you. And they left. When they reached their colony, the families of both these frogs were just looking for them, and they felt very depressed and they were in distress. And the whole night, the whole colony was literally weeping, remembering them. In the early morning, to their surprise, one of the frogs out of two somehow managed to save life and reach the colony. Everyone was very surprised how he was able to do it, while the other one unfortunately was no more. And to your surprise, when they started inquiring, now this person was deaf. He could not hear anything. But what he said was that from your facial expression, I could make out that you're saying that yes, you can do it, and we're waiting here. Go on trying, we're here with you. That's what he could make out just from the facial expression, because he could not hear, he is deaf. While the other person heard it, that they are saying that this is the last goodbye. So this is what happens in elderly. If you're able to give them that hope and expression, they will come back. They can do it. But if you will not give them that hope and expression, they won't. And unfortunately, all of us have to go to that old age as well. And many times, even in our normal day-to-day routine, we need such kind of help. So always remember, when you're dealing with elderly people, you should always give them that hope, that body language, that expression, wherein they know that they can do it. So as we went through depression, so I thought I'll just give you a small introduction to like dementia and delirium. Like dementia we mostly see happens with as people age, and it also takes a lot of time, from months to years, and is progressive. But the consciousness of the person is mostly clear. Attention is fine, it's normal, and you won't see many major psychomotor changes in picking up things or doing things or activity or reactions. And it is something which once progresses, because we do the CD or MRI, when we see the brain starts atrophying, what we say getting smaller, and that's how the areas in the brain which are active, when they start getting smaller, so we start having dementia with old age. On the other side, delirium is more like acute. It can happen within hours to days, and it's very fluctuating as far as the person is concerned, and the duration mostly hours to weeks, and then you will have a symptom present, patient presenting with that symptom. Consciousness many times is altered, and attention is also impaired, and there are psychomotor changes which can increase a lot or decrease a lot. There can be reflexes which can be massive or which can be nowhere, there will be absent. So these are just an introduction, like you should know basics, because depression we already talked about. So dementia and delirium in old age does happen. Dementia is very, very common. And then delirium also happens in many situations. And when you're dealing with patients who have delirium, they have to have a proper medication, they have to be taken care of properly, they have to have a basically supervised by a doctor, and then you have to take a proper care of them at home or in the place wherever they are admitted. Now let's come to the energy that a human being has, how we can manage that. Similarly, elderly people like us also have energy. Now how we will manage that activity? So there are four sources of energy in any human body, and same is the case with elderly. So physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, whatever you believe in, or you believe in a supreme power, whatever. So these are four, you can say, sources which give energy to the body. And in elderly people, obviously, physical energy is not that strong, it's a bit less. Mental energy is very active. They think a lot and they compare a lot from their experiences. Emotional is also very strong. And spiritual, obviously, by this age, they are more into such activities, and that's also very, very strong. So the only weak part can be a physical energy, but that is somehow replaced by other three formats which are more strong in this age. So you have to just now remember that this energy has to be used optimally. You don't have to overuse this energy. You don't have to underuse this energy, because energy capacity will diminish otherwise. What we have to remember is that any elderly person you will see is full of energy when he or she finds the atmosphere around, or the people around, or the family around, wherever he or she is living, more receptive, more strong, more caring, and more sharing. And then this energy will be a lot, and there will be lots of things that can happen even at such an old age. So we have to balance this energy expenditure. And the way you recharge your laptop, the way you recharge your mobile phone, we need to recharge elderly as well. And if you're able to give that intermittent recharge to them, they will be able to have a tremendous amount of energy, because remember, they have energy with experience. We have energy with not that much of experience, but they have E plus E. That's energy plus experience. And you can also learn a lot from them. And once you give that platform to them, wherein they can share that, That will give them a lot of mental health activity. So always remember that these positive energy rituals, they are very, very critical for managing this energy in elderly people and building that resilience, building that immunity in them. Because if you are able to strengthen them, if you are able to give them that energy, if you are able to make them that strong and give them that strength, then only this resilience will come. Mental health immunity, mental health resilience is something which comes from inner side. It comes from the core. Even in ourselves, it comes from the core. And so you have to work with your elderly people in that direction. Now, once we're learning resilience, so to make it easy for all of you, we'll just focus on the word resilience, RESILIENCE. And we will talk about these words and whatever things we are there, we will start with these words. So the first thing is R. So we basically talk about remain positive. So in case of elderly people, what we need to do is that we also have to have a positive thought process and positive thinking about them. And we have to make them think more positive, think more towards future, and think that what still they want from life. Life does not end if you're old. There are so many people who have done so many things when they have reached almost to the zenith of their life. So you have to get that positivity thing in them even at this age, so that they think more actively towards future and not pessimistically towards future. Then E is like establish achievable and realistic goals. You should never leave your focus or never leave your goals if you are old age. Oh my God, now I can't do it. No, they can do it even in that age. In fact, they can do things much easier because they have experience with them. But what they need is your support. If you are from their family, more or less it will be more strong support. If you are just taking care of an elderly in some facility, then also, like when as doctors we talk with patients who are elderly, let me tell you honestly, they don't need medication, they don't need medicine, but what they need is a 1 hour chat with the doctor, because no one talks with them, no one wants to listen to them. Everyone feels that elderly person, it's full stop. But no, it is not full stop. This person is now going to accelerate in a further direction. The only thing is that this person needs energy. This person needs small support for achieving those goals, for keeping that focus. And so it's your role to enhance that. Then strategies. You have to plan your coping strategies when you're dealing with elderly people, and also give them strategies wherein they can cope. Many times some elderly people, as we're talking about, can run through situations like sometimes like Alzheimer's, sometimes like delirium, sometimes like dementia. That very moment, you have to develop that strategy and give them that confidence that there is no harm, and they should not be afraid of asking help. I've seen many times in many families, elderly people don't talk with their family because they think that if they ask for a help or if they say anything, the other person will scream, or the other person will think that why you are saying like that. Don't say like that. So please instill that in them. They should not be afraid of asking help. And it's going to help you a lot, because this will not only help them in strategizing things, but many times when they are in crisis, when they have a lot of issues or problems, they will share. Because remember, elderly people also have lots of problems and lots of issues. Everything is not fine with them. Then I, it's like identify the strengths of the elderly person and give them that confidence, as I told you. And similarly, if you're dealing in a situation wherein you have more than 2 or 3 or 4 cases with you, or you are a counselor, or you are at home dealing with them, you have to identify your strengths as well, because it is a to and fro process. Because until unless anyone as a counselor or as a helper or as a facilitator is not able to identify his or her own strengths, they cannot deal with such situations because they are not so normal. And equally, when you're dealing with such people, you have to give them as well that confidence. They still have strength, they still are useful, because unfortunately old people always feel that they are useless. So this less has to be converted into full, and that usefulness you have to give to them. Then learning from experience. You have an elderly person who is just like a live book. Book still you will read, but in front of you have a live person, and that person in itself is full of experience. You have to learn from them and move on in your life, and you have to make them learn from their experience and move on, because many times you will see that elderly people stop at a particular moment. They neither go this side, they neither come back, and these are very tough situations when we're dealing with elderly people. So that's the moment when you share with them your stories, get to know from their stories, get to know from their experience, and make them move that life is much beyond this, because that's what is our focus basically. And as I said, positive thinking, positive way of thinking, and focus both are very good, very important in elderly. And keep on introducing this as an everyday affair. Whenever you end your talk with them in the day before going to sleep, or in the day when you are starting, you should always introduce this positive way of thinking, this positive focus in them. It will recharge them and rejuvenate them for the whole day. And if you do it at the night, they will have a good sleep, because many times they complain that they don't have sleep, they can't sleep properly, and these things definitely help them a lot. Then enjoying, having laughter, making time to do things that they enjoy, that they have fun with, that they enjoy with their friends, or they go around and they have lots of other things to do, because having fun is one of the most important things. The more a person can have fun, the more a person can have laughter, the more a person can enjoy, you will have wonderful things with those elderly people, because that's what they want at that stage of life. They have already given their hard work, sweat, and everything in settling so many people, in settling lives of so many children or family or whatever they are. And this is the time when they need to enjoy. They need to have that good time. Sometimes watching good movies, sometimes watching anything that gives them satisfaction. And you have to take care of those people and keep them healthy and fit, because food is very, very important when you're dealing with elderly people, and they have to take care of themselves as well. So whenever you are having a food related thing, whenever you're, if you're in charge, or if you're basically monitoring the food and other stuff for elderly, and this applies to us as well in present moment and present times, you should always focus on these few foods which I'm talking about, because many times when there is depression or the mood is quite depressed and there is no elevation of mood, you can have these kind of foods. So in nuts, you can go for almonds, you can go for cashew, you can go for walnut, you can go for peanuts, and these are all things that you can take with. And remember, have these simple, normal nuts and not those salted or fried or things like that. Similarly, have good leafy vegetables, have fresh fruits. Non-veg people can have fish, can have eggs, and you can have clarified butter with food, and coffee or tea or cheese or yogurt or oats, brown rice, lentils, all these food. Because remember, one of the major unfortunate things that's happening in today's life is also our food habit. The way we have junk food, the way we have fast food, all the elements in such food, because there are a lot of preservatives, lot of added colors, they have a lot of effect on our mental health, on our mood, and it really has a lot of negative impact on our body. And on the elderly people, since they have not habit of eating these foods, this obviously destroys them, both within as well as from the physical as well as the mental experience. So always have good food for them. It's very, very important. Connection, as we talked about, it's very important. You have to build healthy relationships of these elderly people with the family. If you are their family, then obviously with your family, and the people who can be sometimes coming to these institutes for elderly and others, wherein they take lectures, they teach them, have that relationship with them, have that bonding with them, or have bonding with their friends, or have bonding with the people, because these connections will help them a lot during their crisis times. And especially, as I told you, these one or two connections which can help them to share a lot with people will definitely help them in the long run. So always remember that having these connections is very important in elderly people. And many times you'll see old people will be complaining that, oh, when I was young, I was doing this, I was doing that, I was in, now that I'm old, I'm not required, I can't do this thing, I can't do that thing, and things are not fine. You have to tell them that change is the only constant thing that happens in this world. And we all have to embrace change. Today, we are young, tomorrow we'll be old, yesterday we will be a child or a kid or anything in life. So it's a cycle, and the cycle has to move on. And we have to embrace this change, and we have to put our energy into whatever is in store in future for us. And let us focus on those things, because that's very, very important. If you're able to focus on those things, and if you're able to embrace change, definitely we'll be able to do a lot. So now let us go for some simple tools which you should remember for building mental resilience, especially in elderly. First is avoiding negative emotions. Maybe sometimes you start talking with them about negative emotions, or sometimes they have already negative emotions. You should always try to create a situation wherein you can avoid these negative emotions or talk less about negative emotions, so that the person doesn't go into those negative phase. Then ABCD model, which I'll talk to you about. Then definitely some breathing exercises that you can do with elderly people. It's going to be a lot of benefit to them. Even if you guys do it, it's going to benefit you also a lot. Then empathy and things to do in any such crisis situations or the situations that we faced, like COVID or any other situation. So these are the things that we have to keep in mind whenever you are dealing with elderly people. And mental resilience or mental immunity, for that, these are very, very important things. So what are the negative emotions that we talked about? It's anger, it's sadness, depression, guilt, anxiety, or fear, or embarrassment, which is so common in elderly people. That you will see that sometimes they are so embarrassed that they will not talk about anything. They will feel that, oh my God, if I talked about this, maybe this will bring a lot of embarrassment to my child or to my family or to someone else or to my own self. So that's very, very important, that we have to remember that we have to avoid all these negative symptoms with the case of elderly people. Then aroma therapy. Sometimes you'll see elderly people who are very much irritated or are not in a good mood or have a lot of stress. So you can use these of the simple oils. Definitely do check if someone has irritation to any of these oils, or there is severe COPD, what we call as chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Otherwise, all these are very, very safe and normal. So you can use lavender, you can use lemon or jasmine. And the moment they have this fragrance, they will have calmness, because their system is very reactive. And when you give them this aromatherapy, it starts calming down. And you will see that after a few minutes, they will be in a very, very calmer mood. Otherwise, it will be very, very irritable and things like that with them. Now, ABCD model is very simple to remember. Ask, as I told you, you have to talk with them, you have to communicate with them, and let them express. The more they express and the more you talk, it will be solved. They have to be active. So let them have their activity, a normal activity that they can do. You have to give them this confidence that any crisis situation will go, as they have seen in their life. So whether it's Corona, whether it's COVID-19, whether it's any crisis situation, it will go. D, very important. Do it. They can do it. It's not that they are old and now they cannot do it. They can do it. They can do it in any situation. E, very important, is, as I said, enjoying life. Art, music, laughter, whatever they like, it's very important. And then finally, focus. Focus is so important in our lives till we live in this world. But what we basically miss is that we start focusing on perfection. We don't have to focus on perfection. We have to focus on progression. And in elderly people, that's what you have to make them understand. That whatever they are doing, whatever they want to do, whatever is their focus, whatever is their goal, even at this age, they have to focus on that progress. And they don't have to focus on perfection. There's no need to get everything 100% okay. We are humans. We can commit error. We can commit mistakes. It's okay. But have we learned from that particular mistake? Have we learned that skill from that particular situation? That's what matters. So we have to focus on progress and not perfection. Now I will share a very simple 2-minute breathing exercise with you. So which we can do with elderly people. And this is like whatever you're holding here, you can just start with the centering breath, and then we'll breathe in for 6 seconds through nose, hold it for 2 seconds, and then breathe out for 7 seconds through our nose. Okay. And to start with, you can do it in any posture, whether you are sitting on chair or whether you are sleeping, but don't do it immediately after lunch or dinner, and don't do it in swimming pool. And so these are the things which you have to take care whenever any elderly person is in any situation. Immediately after lunch, immediately after dinner, this has not to be done. If they cannot sit down, they can sit on chair, and you can tell them to do this exercise. So tell them to just relax a bit, close their eyes. Whatever best thing has happened to them in their life, let them start remembering it, remembering that situation. If they are holding anything here, tell them to just breathe out like this. And once they are calm, once they're in a very relaxed situation, we'll start with breathing out through nose, in through nose for 6 seconds. Now hold our breath for 2 seconds. And now breathe out through nose for 7 seconds. Okay, I'll repeat it again. Whatever you're holding here, leave it. Now breathe in through nose for 6 seconds. Hold breath for 2 seconds. Now breathe out through nose for 7 seconds. So this exercise you can do 10 to 15 times in the day, 10 to 15 times in the evening, or any time that you feel like, except the times I said should not be done. And you will see that if this exercise is done with the elderly person, you will see a lot of calmness in that person. The person will be very relaxed. So do try these exercises when you are in a situation where you are counseling or you have elderly in your family or things like that. Another exercise what we call is 4-7-8. So this is like what we do. We breathe in for 4 seconds through nose, hold the breath for 7 seconds, and then we breathe out through mouth, making a sound like this whoosh sound. So we do this is called as 4-7-8 breathing. And what we do is basically that we exhale completely through our mouth, making this whoosh sound, as I told you, and close our mouth, inhale quietly through nose to counting 4, then hold our breath for 7 seconds, and then exhale completely through mouth, making a whoosh sound. So people who elderly who cannot hold their breath for a longer time, they can hold it for 6 seconds instead of 4. And if still they can't do it, then you have to reduce the number of seconds. They can breathe in for 3 seconds, they can hold for 5 seconds, and then they can breathe out accordingly. So you can do it like that. So again, the situation has to be same, that you sit in a very relaxed posture, whether on a chair or on ground or any situation that you like. But don't do it immediately post lunch, don't do it immediately post dinner and things like that. And then close your eyes, think of the best situation that has happened to you. In case of elderly, you can share with them and tell them that what best they have in their mind or in their life, or whatever is the best thing that they like, start thinking about it, so that the mind sets in that motion of a bit positive orientation. Now we start breathing in through nose for 4 seconds. Now hold breath for 7 seconds. And now breathe out through mouth for 8 seconds, making this sound. Okay, I'll repeat it again. The way I said, you have to relax yourself, be in the position which you find fine, especially for elderly person. Once you're teaching them, let them sit in that position which makes them relaxed, so they can close their eyes. They can think of the best situation that has happened to them in their lives. Start having a positive end of mind. And now we start breathing again through nose for 4 seconds. Now hold breath for 7 seconds. And now breathe out through mouth for 8 seconds. So this exercise also you can do for 10 to 15 times in the morning or in the evening. Like I mean to say the elderly people, when you're dealing with them, can be done. And even you can do it. It's a very nice exercise. Another one, what we call is the bee breathing or humming. It's really a wonderful exercise. And this is like these kind of setup, they really give a lot of relaxation to this area. So what happens is that, as I said, that sit in a relaxed position, be very relaxed as you like, close your eyes and take a deep breath. Once we take a deep breath, and then we will start exhaling through nose and through mouth, we'll start making a sound like this. And while we're doing this, we'll put our both these index fingers and close the ear like this. And this beat will be continued. And you will see that this vibration starts going around here and give you an experience around this, and it really relaxes a lot of stress and tension, and it works magic in elderly people as well. So let's start it. So again, thinking of the best thing, relax in situation, and we exhale through nose. Okay, sorry, we inhale through nose, take a deep breath, and now we exhale through nose and start creating this. And followed by this, we'll do this. Index finger on both ears. I'll start again. Take inhale. And now with exhale, humming will start. And now this. And the more you press, you will see that more things will start relaxing in your head area, in your ear area, and will give a lot of relaxation to elderly people. Then what elderly people really miss is a hug. And you know why hug is so important even for us? Because we have what we call oxytocin, and also it's known as a cuddle hormone. The moment you hug, the levels of oxytocin on touch or when you sit close to it, they start increasing, and they give happiness and they decrease the stress level. So whenever you're dealing with elderly people, just give them a hug. And that hug should be a real hug, and you will see that it will help a lot in lowering the stress level in them, because hugging is very, very important. And if they don't have anyone around, they can hug a tree, because trees also have this beautiful relaxing energy. And when you hug a tree, you can trap this energy and be with tree for a few minutes. You can sit on a branch or a tree or whatever, and you will see a lot of relief in these elderly people. So if these elderly people definitely can get hug from their family members or from their loved ones or from their friends, wonderful. If they can't, then hugging a tree is equally going to help them a lot. And there's a saying that we say that we need 4 hugs a day for survival, 8 hugs a day for maintenance. The way we have maintenance of cars, devices, we also need maintenance. And 12 hugs a day for growth. So if you give 12 hugs to elderly people, they will grow further. And these hugs are required for you as well, not only for elderly people. So hug in itself is something wonderful and great. Now, if there's nothing, then we can go for self-hug as well. It's also helpful. So in elderly people, if they have nothing around, you can teach them to hug themselves. And in the position that You're seeing this photograph wherein it's like this, and you can, the way we just start having that feel and presence and that touch, and then start hugging ourselves. So whenever you're going for a self hug, just remember this photograph in this picture. This is how you have to tell the elderly people how to self hug themselves. And you have to fold your arms around your body the way it was shown in the picture, position them in a way so that it's natural, it's comfortable, and then rest your hands on shoulders or upper arm. And you will see that once you start hugging, you will feel that thing. Or you can hug yourself across stomach also. So it depends. Different people can self hug in different modes, the way they want to do. And it is always very, very helpful. Don't take this more as a joke or as a lighter aspect. Let me tell you honestly, I have seen how hug has cured many elderly patients, even many times young patients. Because what is the problem in today's world is that we are alone in spite of having everything around us. And that loneliness kills us, all of us. And that loneliness kills these elderly people. So when you squeeze yourself, this is basically that you are just fighting that loneliness. This is the physical thing, the physical touch. I am not alone. And that's what we all are fighting. So always take this, and when I say self hug or hug, it's very, very important in elderly people, and even in our case as well. So finally, this resilience plan that we're talking about, this immunity, this mental health immunity, you have to remember 4S in this. Supportive people, as I told you, for elderly people, if they have support, if they have support of even those two people who give them advice or listen to them or share things with them or care with them, that's what they want. Strategies, which I said, were the methods and approaches that you are basically, when you're dealing with them or making them learn things when they have to deal with the situations that they find themselves in extreme crisis or extreme situation. That's what you have to remember. Then sagacity, that wisdom and those insights which can be helpful, because remember, elderly people are full of wisdom. They are full of insights. The only thing is that they feel then they are useless. They feel that no one needs them now. They feel that nothing is required now from them. But the moment you give that importance to their wisdom, to their insight, there will be a sea change. And then solution seeking behaviors. You, when you're dealing with them, you have to have this kind of behavior. Don't think of them as a problem, think of them as a solution. You have to plan things, you have to search for those beautiful informations if you don't have. Attend workshops, learn from them, because old people are there as a part of solution, they are not problem. But unfortunately, we take and think of them as a problem. And that's where everything and every unfortunate thing starts. This is one of my favorites, and I feel that spiritual music, these are all internationally known singers who sing wonderful rhythms. And if you get time, do listen to them whenever you feel, whether it's instrumental, like they are from India, they're from Nepal, they are from US, from Middle East, from Pakistan, from Armenia, Central Asia, Russia, like people from different countries who are basically into spiritual music, who are into spiritual, because what is spiritual music? You have to understand, let me tell you as a doctor, that every organ of our body responds to a particular frequency, and that frequency is of music that we produce. Similarly, in elderly people, every organ responds to a particular music, particular frequency. Liver will respond to one thing, neurons will respond to another thing, heart will respond to another thing. And this is the truth of life. That's why we say music heals. So the more you are able to share this spiritual music with them, this is like what you played in the start of this workshop. What was that? That is the music which basically is the food for your neurons. And that is how the neurons get activated. So think of those things and think of these things when you're dealing with elderly people. So finally, empathy. Why empathy is important? You can see this figure on my right hand side. There's a person whose face is blue colored and the mind is green. And on the left hand side, there's a person whose face is green and the mind is blue. Now, what I want to show you in this picture is that the person whose face is blue is finding empathy on the left hand side of the person, because the thought process of that person is the way that that person is able to understand the pulse of this person who's in blue color. And similarly, the person whose face is with green has found a person, an empathetic person in the person on the blue, whose face is blue, that that person can basically identify what this person is thinking, how this person is feeling, what this person wants to say, what this person wants to convey. This is what we need in life. This is what the elderly people need, that if they are able to know one or two such empathetic people who understand what they want to say, who can identify them, who can know their pulse, who can basically understand what all is happening, understand their feelings, 80% of the mental problem or that crisis is solved. So that's what we have to do. And we can do it in our families. Many of us have shared a strong bonding with our grandparents. Why? Like in my case, my best friend was always my grandfather. It was like eating, sitting, schooling. Even we used to have in during our recess that which ice cream we'll select. He would one day go and get it for me, other day I would go and get it for him. The thing was that the bonding was so strong that we had found each other's persona. That's what we have to do when we're dealing with elderly people. And when until unless you don't have empathy, nothing will happen. Sympathy irritates elderly people or irritates any one of us, but empathy doesn't. So you have to be empathetic in such a situation. You have to give empathy to such people. Always remember that. And finally, what you have to do in elderly when you're dealing with them, if they are in any crisis situation like COVID or anything else also, because when there is a lot of fear psychosis around, then elderly people start getting a lot of anxiety. First thing, you have to prioritize their sleep. The better they sleep, 80% of disease and disorders are over. Healthy eating, I talked to you about. Good food for them, good things for them, they will live longer. Have them maintain good hydration. Every hour or so, they should have water. Now you'll say, why? Because as people age, many of them have chest disease or lungs problems, and the breathing is more. Sometimes they have a lot of breathing through mouth. So they lose a lot of water in that. So you have to maintain hydration. You have to make them and be active. Sometimes even if you have to be with them, you have to be active with them. That routine has to be there. It has to be consistent. It has to be active. Make them learn skills even at this age. If they like, sometimes they love playing Sudoku games, or they like to play any other kind of stuff on any whether device or on hand, or they want to enhance their skills or writing skills or talking or debating or whatever. So make them get engaged in learning skills. Meditation is wonderful if they enjoy it, or if not meditation, some physical form of flight exercises or some breathing exercises or whatever they are comfortable with. And many exercises I shared with you, you can use them. Don't get them indulge into a lot of news feeds, especially these negative news that runs on social media and things like that. Or many people of us in India, we see old people start watching this Savdan channel, all these criminal petrol and crime petrol, and then you will see during night they will start thinking, okay, now someone will come here and now someone will be like this. So you should keep them away from such things, and they should be dealt in a way that they don't overthink, because they will overthink when they are lonely. They will overthink when they have these excess negative news feedbacks. They will have all such kinds of programs they watch. So keep them more in a lighter mood, and the more they are in the lighter mood, they will have a lot of fun. So finally, this one last exercise I want to share with you. This you guys can also apply sometime, but obviously in elderly people it's very, very helpful. And people especially having blood pressure or sometimes diabetes also, just relaxes your mind. We just see this hand on the left hand side. You can do it on both sides, right as well as left hand. And with this thumb, you see this area in the center, if I'm able and visible on screen. With this thumb, you can just press this area and press this area for 2 minutes. Okay. In elderly people, you can use your thumb and press it on their hand. If you have to, in your own case, you can do it yourself and just press it like this for 2 minutes. Or if an elderly person listens to you, is calm enough, you can tell that person also to do it. Once you press it for 2 minutes, you will start seeing that there will be slight relaxation. But before doing this, obviously, you have to just calm yourself down, relax a bit, relax this tension in your body, and then start doing like this for 2 minutes. And if there is any stress or anything, you will see that very sweet pain will start coming at this position. And that indicates that your body is in stress. And you can definitely overcome that. This exercise also followed by the way you can hold your thumb for 2 minutes like this, and then you will see this pulsating sound coming. Similarly, you can hold 2 minutes this finger, this finger, this finger, and you can repeat this exercise in this hand as well. So most of the times you can do this in any position. There is nothing, no problem in doing any time of the day or even night that you want. And especially starting with this, and then you can also do it in the reverse direction as well. And you will see this stress and tension will start going off. So this is a very simple technique that you can use to de-stress elderly people, and you can use it for yourself as well. And with this, I end my slides, and I will go back. And if there's any question, anything, I'm open and love to have a discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wanchoo. Really such a healing presentation, I would say. And what are the true source of healing for the old people? Really depicted all those from ideological point of view, psychological point of view. Thank you so much.
My
And
pleasure. Thank you.
particularly the section you talked about some therapeutic exercise, that's really very helpful for us. So, dear and respected friends, if you have any question, please ask Dr. Wanchoo. Vinity ji, Tejaswini
Hello.
ji, yes.
Yeah. Hello. Good evening, everyone. Thanks. So that Dr. Amit Wanchoo's presentation was really very elaborate and so many learnings I had today. So I had just one doubt actually. He was mentioning something about happy moment and happy life. Is it that every moment makes a life? I mean, I just want him to just explain a little bit on that point. Thank you.
Okay. So I basically explained in that slide that when we're basically focusing on the full-on action, so do we want to give someone just a happy moment, or we want to give a happy life? Because in a life, there can be a small moment which will be happy. And if we just process this thing in a regular way, in a consistent manner, then this happy moment can multiply and make your life fully happy. That's what I wanted to explain in that.
Thank you.
Jayaji,
Hello, sir.
Tejaswini
There
ji,
was
please.
really very nice elaboration of the topics. I really thank you so much, sir, giving
My
us,
pleasure.
giving us various techniques to calm down, to help the people to get over the depression and tensions. Thank you so much. I liked it. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah, I think there's some question from here that what if one sees connection as complication, right? I think there's one question. So it's a wonderful, I really like the question. So I'll say that, we have to understand one thing in life, that whatever connections we have in our life, there are complications in that as well. But those complications give us learning. Many a times the son is not going along well with the father, or the daughter is not going along well with the mother, or vice versa, or things like that. But you must have seen that the relationship is so strong that even after a fight, they will still ask the other person for the food to have together in the evening. We just don't cut up the relations that well. So that's why connection in that direction is never a complication. But yes, connection in the form of negativity is a complication. Now, if you're connecting with people who basically are not your well-wishers and always want to have more negative thought process or negative things for you, then it will happen. I'll give you a small example. Say today you are in a position wherein you are, for example, the president of the country or CEO of some big company. Suddenly on that chair, you will have 20,000 friends. You will have 40,000 Facebook likes. You will have 1 million Instagram followers. And the moment you're out of that chair, you will have maybe 8 people who care for you. But in reality, it's basically those 8 people whose phone call, many a times your mother is calling just to check whether you have taken lunch. Your friend is calling to know your welfare and will say, can I call you back? Can I call you later? And but at the same moment, if you're getting a call from deputy commissioner, you're getting a call from a commissioner secretary, you'll just pick up the phone. But unfortunately, in the middle of the night, Neither that deputy commissioner is going to come to you, nor that commissioner secretary is going to come to you if you have any problem. In the middle of the night, it's your friend, maybe that peon, maybe that family member who is going to come. So always value your relationships and value that connection. If you value those connections, they will never be a complication.
Thank you. Jayaji, you want to ask any question? Mansi ji. So thank you so much, Dr. Wanchoo. It was really,
Thank you,
really
thank you, thank you.
nice. And because we send a recording to our participants, so they think like, no problem, we will get the recording. So
That's fine, that's fine.
So dear and respected friend, so I will write them tonight mail that they will get recording after 10 days, 15 days. Then they have a kind of. So thank you so much. It was really very enriching. We look forward and I would request you to please join at the end of our session, that is on 17th of the June. So thank you so much, and
I
thank you
will,
so
I will.
much for your precious
No,
time.
thanks to you for this initiative, because it's very close to my heart. And unfortunately, like I, as a person, I was always against the old age home concept, because I personally believe that the people who basically give life to us and shape our lives, unfortunately, we're just getting that as a commodity and sending them to old age homes. But unfortunately, there's no other way out to take care of them. So I would be more than happy to see if our younger generation starts caring more for elderly people. Nothing less
Mhm.
than that can happen. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. And we are also planning to record this session and it will be shown in. There are two universities. The recordings will be sent. So
Thank you.
you are also nurturing. It is a continuous journey. So we will
Yeah.
sensitize the students also. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And with
Thank you.
this
Thank you so
word,
much.
see you tomorrow again. Tomorrow we have another session. Very important sociologist, I would say. And he has done so much work from sociological point of view. He is one of the person whom I like and admire so much. That's Dr. Anara Tendulkar. He is now head of and associate professor at Sophia College, and right now he is on vice chancellor post, I think. So he will nurture us about.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And good night. Take care.